Welcome to the second part of my dynamic hedging video, where I apply the theory reviewed in the first part and backtest the strategy during the COVID-19 market crash. If you have not watched that video, please watch that video first, as the material in this video is dependent on that one. Let's return to a simple two-period tree before we backtest our strategy, as there is a nuance we must discuss before we backtest. It goes without saying that even if we add more time steps, we won't be able to capture the exact movement of the stock market in one of the paths. Therefore, this needs to be dealt with as we implement the strategy. Recall for the two-period tree, our strategy at time 0 is to short 0.3959 shares of the stock market portfolio and invest $41.90 at the risk-free rate. What happens if in reality the stock price ends up being here at the red dot halfway through the year? Well, we would not be able to perfectly replicate our payoff as needed. At this point, we need to figure out what our new hedging position should be, how much our new hedging position costs, and whether we can afford the hedge. We can create a new one-period binomial tree from the current value of the stock market portfolio with the same parameters and solve for what our hedging position should be. This gives us our position and cost, which is 40 cents. If the hedge cost is less than the value of the current position, then we can afford the hedge. If not, then we will suffer a loss for taking the new hedge position. Our previous hedge position from t equals 0 gives us a payoff of $1. The new hedge cost is 40 cents, so this nets us a profit of 60 cents. We are now ready to backtest. This animation here is a visualization of our backtesting. The solid red line is what we actually experienced, and the red tree is the tree we would have projected at the time. Similar to the last slide, for each of these trees, we can calculate a profit or loss on the week. What we want to know is if our cumulative sum of our profit or loss is positive or near 0. To the extent that the actual stock market movement veers off of our projected paths is to the extent we will experience profit or loss. For example, if the stock market moved perfectly according to one of our projected paths, we would have 0 profit or loss. As you can see, during the stock market crash of March last year, the path severely veered off of our projections, and we suffered some loss as a result. Our hedging strategy was not perfect, as we could not project the increased volatility of the market at the time, and thus we had a resulting loss of $3.33. The graphs on the slide show you how our hedging costs and cumulative profit or loss moved as we moved through the year. Even though our strategy was not perfect, if we simply charged an equivalent premium of $4.96, we would have had a loss of $11.70, as we would have had to pay $16.66 to fulfill our guarantee. I hope you're convinced that dynamic hedging is worth doing as it reduces our risk. Though a difference of an $8 loss might not seem like much, as the initial investments move from $100 to millions or even billions, $8 becomes thousands or hundreds of thousands, and dynamic hedging is therefore very important in limiting loss.